In this tutorial, we will have a look on how materials work in our Fully Procedural library and how to implement these materials into your workflow. Fully Procedural Material means that you are generating grayscale maps, mostly from maximum noise, and this allows you to create not just patterns, but displacement, bump and roughness data as well. Also, with Ramp Node you are able to colorize these maps, so you have full control over material properties, pattern, shapes and colors exactly as you need. We spent more than 1 year with creating these materials just to make sure that we will provide as simple as possible control, so you do not need to use any documentation or take multiple courses to be able to control look of these materials. That's the reason why instead, providing huge amount of nodes connected into the standard material, we created RS Tools. RS Tools, or you can call it X Groups, controls math or parameters of multiple nodes with just few sliders. We are not creating any plugins or rebuilding Redshift. We are just using available Redshift nodes instead. It's simple as that. But in case that you don't know how to use Ramp Node, or how works maximum noise, or how to use standard material, please check out Redshift documentation, where are explained all these details. And if you would like to go even deeper with Redshift knowledge, you can check out our Redshift course, where you will find all details and techniques what you will ever need. Let's get started. First type and the simplest type of materials are patterns. It allows you to create various types of patterns for simple materials. Pattern tool allows you to control basic pattern parameters. Ramp Node allows you to create colors, which are connected into the standard material. Pattern tool generate also bump, so you have control over bump intensity. Pattern tool contains also noise breakup input, which allows you to create less uniform looking patterns. This breakup can be controlled by maximum noise or with any type of selection. Multiple selection tools such as curvature tool or projected selection you will find in LFO tools category. Examples on how it works you will find in tips and tricks tutorials, so check them out. Our material library using the same workflow for all material types. You have control over pattern type, intensity, and scale. Scale parameter is very important because it allows you to match pattern scale with object's scale. The main shader is 1 meter large, so if you are using object which has size around 1 meter, pattern size created in our presets do not need any adjustment. But in case that your object is significantly smaller, you have to lower scale of all patterns. And of course, in case that object is significantly larger than 1 meter, you have to increase scale of all patterns. Deform parameter allows you to stretch patterns in dedicated axis. As example, if I would like to deform my axis, I can easily do so. It's the same workflow as you are using for controlling max and noise parameters. Range parameters allows me to control grayscale range of dedicated pattern, so you can easily create softer or sharper looking patterns. As you can see, all is very intuitive, and so far we are not using anything what you didn't use before. And if you are not sure what some slider does, just move it from left to right and back, and you will immediately see what changes are happening. As I mentioned already, this library is built with maximum simplicity, so you literally just need to control a couple of sliders. Second types of materials are materials which are using more parameters and contains more than one section. As example, I will use bump material. Bump material is using bump tool which contains pattern and breakup section. So you are controlling parameters with the same function, but for different parts of material. As in the previous example, you can choose pattern type and pattern intensity, but here you have also control over breakup parameters. As you can see, sections are separated by capital letters. So if you see parameter which is using capital letters, it means that it doesn't belong to the previous section anymore, and it belongs to the new dedicated section instead. Usually it's intensity parameter, which controls intensity of entire section. It's something like weight parameter. Ones is intensity of dedicated section 0. It means that this entire section is not contributing to the final result. Another example is selection parameter, and again, as you can see, it's using capital letters. Selection can be controlled by various tools. It's actually the same workflow as I explained already in previous example on noise breakup input. If I will apply this material on object, as you can see it provides different result than previous example, and breakup section helps with more natural looking patterns and overall result. And again, as in previous example, you have the same control over material pattern. In this case, it's bump pattern, so as additional parameters you have also control over pattern lacunarity and gain. Both parameters are from maximum noise. Also, you have control over entire range of dedicated section. That's the reason why you can control low and high range separately. Breakup section contains same parameters as pattern section, but these parameters are controlling only look of breakup and anything else. So in case that I will lower breakup intensity close to 0, as you can see entire breakup section and its parameters are not active anymore. It means that if you will try to change these parameters from this section now, you will not be able to see any changes. Also, you can see now how looks result without breakup contribution. Pattern looks boring and repetitive. That's the reason why we are using breakup so often. You don't have to use full breakup contribution. It's just up to you how you will mix together dedicated sections. It's something what you definitely cannot do with standard texture sets. If you are working with standard texture sets, you have no control over all texture parts or its details. But you have this option in our procedural library. Also, as I mentioned already, some tools are ready for additional inputs. So, if you would like to have result from these tools, as example only on edges of this object, you can connect our curvature tool into the selection input. If you would like to change colors, just select ramp node, and here you can change colors or even color range exactly as you need. Just remember that color saturation and brightness strongly affect result. So if you would like to change colors, make sure that you are using correct color values. This needs artistic skills, so spend some time with ramp node and practice. More you will practice, easier and faster you will be able to create good-looking result. Also, as you can see, knots position affect how soft or shaper are color transitions. Third type of materials are complex materials, which contains multiple layers. As example, I will use marble material, because marble tool contains 5 layers. So far we are not using more than 5 layers for materials, mostly it's just 2 max 3 layers, but this is very good example on how to easily control materials with many sliders. As you can see, this type of material is not using additional max and noise nodes because all max and nodes are prepared inside this tool already. It allows you to control multiple layers of max and noise, and you don't have to be worried about its all parameters, math nodes, or additional complex connections because we already prepared it for you. These types of tools are prepared just for one purpose, and it's to create specific result. If it's marble tool, it means it contains all details which you can find on marbles, but this tool is not ready for creating, let's say, organic materials or any other type of materials. So, for creating organic materials, use its dedicated tool, and for creating marble materials, use its dedicated tool as well. This will save you a lot of time, and as usual, we are keeping the same workflow. So again, you can use ramp node to cobblerize this material, plus for this type of materials we're using also scalar ramp node for controlling roughness range. And of course, you can change parameters of standard material exactly as you need. But always check out which parameters of standard material is controlling our tool, so you can easier identify which parameters actually you can control with our tool and which parameters you have to control inside standard material instead. As you can see, this tool contains many sliders but just one output. And it's because this is actually simple tool. This tool allows you to choose pattern type, as you know already from previous examples, but difference is that for creating complex patterns, such as marble, you need multiple layers of max and noise. In this case, we are using 5 layers of noise. Every layer has its shortcut. So as example, L1 means all parameters of layer 1, L2 means all parameters of layer 2. It's simple as that. And you can easily identify which layer contains which parameters. As you can see, all these layers contains the same parameters, so you just have to use your artistic skills and mix intensity of these layers exactly as you need. It's like working with 5 layers of textures in Photoshop and blending them together until you see result which you like. Easy workflow for this type of tools is to tweak all layers step by step. So as first step, lower intensity of all layers which you are currently not tweaking. Now I can clearly see how looks result just from first layer, and I can start to blend layer by layer exactly as I need. There is not any other material library which allows you to create so easily your own textures directly inside Redshift. Now I can choose pattern type and tweak all parameters of layer 1 exactly as I need. All these parameters are controlling dedicated max and noise. So it's also standard max and noise parameters as you are using when you are working with max and noise node. For each layer, you can change pattern scale. You can stretch this pattern as I explained already in previous example. Also, you can use offset for changing pattern's position. And remember that large offset values work as randomizer, so you can easily change look of pattern just with offset parameters. Once you like result of first layer, you can blend second layer exactly as you need. Once you are done with second layer, you can tweak third layer, and this of course applies for all other layers as well. The same steps, the same workflow. All depends just on your artistic skills. Also remember that you have full control over materials colors across entire pattern and its details, so you can change these colors exactly as you need. But in case that you don't want to tweak these complex materials or creating your own patterns, you can just use our material presets instead. For every type of material, we prepared for you various presets, so you have predefined all these materials already and you do not need to tweak them at all. Just make sure that you are using correct pattern scale. Because as I explained already, if you are working with patterns or textures, you always have to match pattern size with object size. And this rule is the same for standard texture sets and for procedural textures as well. Advantage of procedural textures is that you don't have to deal with obvious texture repetitions or texture tiling effect. Fourth type of materials are our recent materials, which allows you to create wide range of interesting looking results. As example, I will use Displace Surface tool. The heart of this materials is Displace Surface tool. Displace Surface tool contains 3 layers. But this time, instead of controlling chosen noise parameters directly in our tool, you are able to tweak all noise parameters exactly as you need in Max and Noise node instead. This workflow is giving you significantly more options on how to tweak materials pattern or even entire materials look. So you can easily create from boring looking primitives such as sphere, interesting looking organic surface. And as usual, ramp node controls material colors. If I will select Displace Surface tool, as you can see, here I have still control over layers intensity, such as breakup layer intensity or details layer intensity, but also over entire pattern range and displacement intensity as well. But if I would like to tweak parameters of each layer, I have to use dedicated Max and Noise node and tweak its parameters. It's the same workflow as in previous example, but this time you have available significantly more parameters for each layer. If I will change breakup intensity, as you can see it produce significantly different result. The same applies for details intensity as well. We designed this type of tools to provide many variations and interesting looking results. So as first step, use material preset from Displace Gen 2 category. These presets provide good start point. As next step, tweak layers intensity as you like. And after that, tweak dedicated noise parameters for each layer exactly as you need. It's like material playground, and with just a couple of nodes you can easily create many good-looking results. As you can see, I spent with this material less than 1 minute, and I created completely different looking result. And that's the main idea of our library. With tools you can easily create completely new materials fast, with just a couple of nodes and sliders, and you do not need to be worried about all these connections, which usually takes a lot of time. Output from these tools can control various parameters of standard material. As example, if I will use Scalar Ramp node, I can control also reflection roughness of this material. It will create another layer of material imperfection. Now I have control over roughness range as well, and as you can see, this roughness variations strongly help with more natural looking result. Fifth type of materials are tools for controlling liquids or subsurface type of materials. As example, I will use Subsurface tool. As you can see, this type of tool is not controlling material colors with ramp node, but directly in tool instead. But workflow remaining the same. For mixing main color with secondary color, you are using max and noise node. For subsurface weight variations, roughness variation and bump pattern, you are using max and noise as well. This type of tool contains two types of weight control: constant subsurface weight contribution and subsurface weight variation contribution. Variations intensity you are controlling in subsurface tool, but its pattern you have to control in max on noise. The same applies for roughness range. As usual, roughness range you are controlling with scalar ramp node, but its pattern you have to control in its dedicated max and noise node. And bump pattern has its max and noise node as well. So once you have bump pattern which you like, you can control its intensity in subsurface tool. But as you can see, for all these inputs you are using the same workflow. And because it's subsurface tool, you have also control over subsurface anisotropy and radius color. As I mentioned already, if you will have a look on standard material inputs, you can easily identify what parameters control dedicated tool. This tool also contains displacement section. This displacement helps to break up uniform surface of simple objects. But in case that your object doesn't need additional details, turn off displacement completely or decrease its intensity as you need. Advantage of using displacement is that you can use the same grayscale map which you are using for displacement for creating colors as well. So as example, if I'm using for mixing colors max and noise, it can provide good looking result. But this result is a little bit random. But in case that I will use displacement map for controlling color mix as well, as you can see, it provides more natural looking result. Last type of materials are materials which contains all in one tool. This type of tool allows you to create multiple operations within one tool, such as scratches, roughness imperfections, and other important material properties. But for this type of tools we have tutorial already, so check out our tips and tricks tutorials for even more details. And in case that we will create materials which are using completely different new gen tools, we will create tutorial about these tools as well. As example, we created already liquid tool tutorial, sheen tool tutorial, and anisotropy tool tutorial as well, so check them out.